Alex Reed wiped sweat from his forehead as he watched the line of cadets move forward. The testing chamber buzzed with nervous energy as dozens of alien species waited their turn with the ancient scanner. This was the day that would decide their future in the Galactic Military Academy. The Forerunner scanner stood in the center of the room like a piece of living crystal. Nobody knew exactly how old it was, but legend said the mysterious Forerunners had left it behind when they vanished from the galaxy thousands of years ago. The device measured something deeper than strength or intelligence. It looked into the very core of a being and found their true potential. Alex had seen the scanner work many times during his 3 years at the Academy. When the tall, blue-skinned Altrian stepped up to it, the crystals sang with high, beautiful notes that echoed their telepathic abilities. The massive Brutex made it rumble with deep, powerful sounds that matched their warrior spirits. The small, quick synths caused rapid beeping patterns that showed their natural talent with technology. Every cadet received a score between 1 and 100. Most got numbers in the 30s or 40s. The really special ones might reach 60 or 70. Alex had heard rumors of someone once scoring 85, but that was probably just a story. Today was Alex's turn. As one of only 12 humans at the Academy, he already stood out. Humans were still new to galactic society. Earth had only joined the Alliance 15 years ago, and most alien species still saw humans as primitive newcomers. Alex tried not to let that bother him, but it was hard when he consistently scored at the bottom of his classes. Next, called Commander Reese, the stern Altrian officer who supervised the testing. Her purple skin shimmered under the chamber's lights, and her large black eyes showed no emotion as she watched each cadet step forward. The cadet in front of Alex was a synth named Pixel. The small, gray-skinned alien approached the scanner with confidence. As soon as Pixel came within 3 feet of the device, it began its familiar sequence. Lights danced across the crystal surface while a series of quick beeps filled the air. After 30 seconds, a holographic display showed the number 47. "Acceptable for engineering track," Commander Reese announced. Pixel grinned and walked to join the other cadets who had already been tested. "Reed, Alex, human, step forward." Alex's legs felt heavy as he walked toward the scanner. He could feel dozens of alien eyes watching him. Some looked curious, others seemed amused. A few Brutex were probably betting on how low his score would be. The scanner loomed in front of him, easily twice his height. Up close, Alex could see that it wasn't really made of crystal at all. The surface looked solid, but deeper inside, patterns of light moved like living things. Ancient symbols flickered along the base. Too quick for Alex to read, even if he could understand the Forerunner language. "Place your hand on the contact pad," Commander Reese instructed. Alex reached out and touched the smooth surface. It felt warm, almost alive. He waited for the familiar sounds to begin. Nothing happened. The scanner remained completely silent. No humming, no beeping, no musical tones. The patterns of light inside seemed to slow down, then stop entirely. Alex looked back at Commander Reese, confused. "Is it broken?" he asked. Commander Reese frowned and checked her datapad. "The device shows as fully operational. Perhaps there was an interference. Step back and try again." Alex moved away from the scanner, then approached it once more. Again, he placed his hand on the contact pad. Again, nothing happened. The silence stretched on for nearly a minute. Other cadets began to whisper among themselves. Some laughed quietly. Alex felt his face turn red with embarrassment. Of course, the scanner wouldn't work for him. He was just a human. Maybe they really were too primitive for the ancient technology to even recognize. Then something changed. The lights inside the scanner began to move again, but differently than before. Instead of the usual flowing patterns, they pulsed in slow, steady rhythms. The crystal itself started to glow, first faintly, then brighter and brighter until Alex had to squint against the glare. "What's happening?" Commander Reese demanded, rushing to her control console. The scanner's glow shifted from white to deep red. Ancient symbols that had been dark for as long as anyone could remember suddenly blazed to life along the base of the device. The air around the scanner began to shimmer like heat waves rising from hot pavement. Then, as suddenly as it had begun, everything stopped. The red glow faded. The symbols went dark. The scanner returned to its normal state, but somehow it seemed different now. "Changed. Error in the system," Commander Reese announced after checking her readings. "The device will need recalibration. Reed, you'll be retested next week." "But what was my score?" Alex asked. There was no score. The scanner malfunctioned. You're dismissed. Alex walked away from the scanner, feeling the eyes of every cadet in the room following him. He heard whispers and chuckles as he passed. Some of the alien cadets were making jokes about humans being so primitive that they broke ancient technology just by touching it. But not everyone was laughing. Near the back of the chamber, Chief Engineer Morris watched Alex with narrow eyes. The old human had been at the academy longer than anyone could remember. He was one of the few humans who had been exploring space even before Earth joined the Galactic Alliance. Right now, his weathered face showed an expression Alex couldn't read. As Alex reached the exit, Morris caught up with him. "Read," the chief engineer said quietly. "Meet me in Maintenance Bay 7 after dinner." "Tell no one, sir? Is something wrong?" Morris glanced back at the scanner, then at the alien officers who were still trying to figure out what had gone wrong with their ancient device. "Maybe," Morris said, "or maybe something is finally going right. Either way, we need to talk." Alex spent the rest of the day trying to focus on his regular classes, but his mind kept returning to those few strange minutes in the testing chamber. Why had the scanner reacted that way, and why did Chief Engineer Morris look so serious when it happened? The other human cadets tried to cheer him up during lunch. They told him the retest would go fine, that the scanner probably just needed maintenance. But Alex couldn't shake the feeling that something important had happened in that chamber, something that no one understood yet. As evening approached and Alex made his way toward Maintenance Bay 7, he wondered if Chief Engineer Morris had answers to questions Alex didn't even know how to ask. The old engineer had seen more of the galaxy than any other human alive. If anyone could explain what had happened with the scanner, it would be him. The maintenance bay was empty when Alex arrived, filled only with the quiet hum of machinery and the distant sound of the space station's life support systems. Alex waited in the dim light, wondering what secrets Morris might be about to share. Chief Engineer Morris arrived 20 minutes late, carrying a small device that looked like a cross between a flashlight and a scanner. His gray hair was messier than usual, and his uniform showed signs of crawling through maintenance tunnels. "Sorry, kid," Morris said, checking the device in his hands. "Had to make sure we wouldn't be overheard. This conversation never happened, understand?" Alex nodded, though he didn't really understand anything yet. Morris gestured for him to follow, leading him deeper into the maintenance section of the station. They passed through areas Alex had never seen before, down corridors that seemed older than the rest of the academy. "Where are we going?" Alex asked as they descended another level. "Somewhere the Galactic Council pretends doesn't exist," Morris replied. "The deep archives. Been sealed for 30 years officially. Unofficially, I've had access since I arrived here." They reached a heavy door marked with symbols Alex didn't recognize. Morris pressed his hand against a hidden panel, and the door slid open with a soft hiss. Beyond it lay a chamber filled with strange objects and glowing displays. "Welcome to what's left of the Forerunner collection," Morris said. "Most of their technology was destroyed or lost when they vanished. What you see here are fragments, pieces of a puzzle that's taken me 40 years to put together." Alex followed Morris into the chamber, amazed by what he saw. Crystalline structures similar to the scanner stood along the walls, but these were dark and inactive. Holographic displays showed star maps and symbols that seemed to shift when Alex wasn't looking directly at them. In the center of the room sat a large console covered in the same strange writing he had seen on the scanner's base. "What happened to them?" Alex asked. "The Forerunners, I mean." Morris activated one of the displays and images began to appear in the air above them. Massive space battles, strange creatures that seemed to be made of darkness itself, and beings in advanced armor fighting desperately against impossible odds. "They fought a war," Morris said. "The greatest war the galaxy has ever seen, against something called the Void Spawn. Creatures that don't just destroy things, they make them stop existing entirely, as if they never were." The images showed star systems simply vanishing, leaving nothing behind. Not debris, not radiation, just empty space where millions of worlds had once been. "The Forerunners won barely," Morris continued, "but the cost was so high that their entire civilization collapsed. Most of them died in the final battle. The survivors scattered across the galaxy trying to rebuild." "What does this have to do with me?" Alex asked, though part of him was beginning to suspect the answer. Morris walked to the central console and placed his hand on its surface. Nothing happened. Then he gestured for Alex to try. The moment Alex's fingers touched the console, it exploded into activity. Lights raced across its surface. Holographic displays sprang to life around the room, and a three-dimensional map of the galaxy appeared above their heads. But this wasn't the galaxy as Alex knew it. This map showed energy patterns flowing between star systems, with some areas glowing brightly and others appearing as voids in space. "How did you know it would react to me?" Alex asked, staring at the display. "Because I've been studying human genetics for decades," Morris said. "Earth isn't our real home, Alex. Humans are descendants of Forerunner refugees. The genetic markers are hidden deep in our DNA, but they're there, and in some humans those markers are stronger than others." The galactic map zoomed in on a section near the rim, showing several star systems that appeared to be flickering between existence and non-existence. "The seals are breaking," Morris said grimly. "The barriers the Forerunners created to keep the void spawn locked away. Something is testing them, probing for weaknesses, and when they finally break through, he didn't need to finish." Alex could see what would happen in the images still playing around them. The galaxy would be consumed by nothingness, just as it nearly had been thousands of years ago. "The scanner today," Alex said. "It was trying to measure something in me, wasn't it? Something connected to the Forerunners." "Not just connected," Morris said. "You're carrying their genetic legacy, Alex. The dormant abilities they encoded in their refugees. Most humans only have traces of it, barely enough to register. But you're what they called a fire bearer." "What does that mean?" Morris touched another control, and the display changed to show technical specifications for weapons and equipment. Alex couldn't begin to understand. "It means you can use their technology. The real stuff, not just these broken fragments. The weapons they built to fight the void spawn. The tools they used to create and maintain reality itself." Alex looked around the chamber with new eyes. All of this ancient technology, waiting for someone who could activate it, someone with the right genetic key. "But I don't know how," Alex said. "I can barely pass my regular classes. How am I supposed to use technology that's thousands of years ahead of anything we have?" "The knowledge is in your DNA," Morris explained. "Locked away, but still there. It just needs to be awakened. The scanner today was the first step. Your genetic code is starting to activate." "How do you know all this?" Morris smiled for the first time since Alex had met him. "Because I've been waiting for you, or someone like you, for most of my adult life. The Forerunner records left instructions, warnings about what to watch for when the void spawn started stirring again, and specific instructions about finding and training fire bearers." He gestured to a section of the chamber Alex hadn't noticed before. Ancient armor and weapons hung on display racks, all of them sized for beings roughly human-shaped. They knew their refugees would eventually face this choice, Morris said. When the time came, they would either step forward to take up the burden their ancestors carried, or watch the galaxy fall to darkness. Alex felt overwhelmed by the enormity of what Morris was telling him. He was just a cadet who couldn't even pass his basic combat training. How could he be expected to fight creatures that had nearly destroyed an entire civilization? "I'm not ready for this," Alex said. "None of us ever are," Morris replied. "But ready or not, the choice is coming. Those flickering star systems on the map, they're getting worse. Long-range sensors are picking up anomalies all along the galactic rim. The Galactic Council thinks it's just equipment malfunctions, but I know better." He activated another display, showing recent sensor readings from the Academy's deep space monitoring stations. The data showed patterns that didn't match any known phenomenon. Energy signatures that seemed to exist and not exist at the same time. "How long do we have?" Alex asked. "Months, maybe weeks," Morris said. "The probing attacks are getting stronger. Soon they'll be strong enough to break through, and when they do, we need to be ready." Alex looked at the ancient technology surrounding them, then at the genetic legacy flowing through his veins that he couldn't even feel yet. The responsibility seemed impossible. "What's the first step?" he asked. Morris smiled again, this time with approval. "Learning to listen to what's already inside you. The Forerunner knowledge isn't gone, Alex, it's sleeping, and it's time to wake it up." 2 weeks passed before Alex began to notice the changes. At first, they were small things that could easily be explained away. Computer terminals responding slightly faster when he used them. Navigation systems displaying information he hadn't requested but somehow needed. Equipment that seemed to work better when he was nearby. Alex tried to convince himself it was all coincidence, but the incidents were becoming more frequent and harder to ignore. The real turning point came during his assigned maintenance shift in the training simulation center. Alex was supposed to be checking power connections on the holographic projectors, But when he activated the main console to run diagnostics, something unexpected happened. The entire simulation chamber came to life around him. Holographic enemies materialized in complex battle formations. Terrain shifted and changed to create an elaborate battlefield. And tactical displays began showing strategic information at a level of detail Alex had never seen before. "What the hell is going on in there?" Nina Torres called from the observation deck above. Alex looked up to see the skilled pilot Cadet staring down at him through the reinforced windows. Nina was one of the few people at the academy who had ever treated Alex like an equal, rather than a primitive newcomer. She had grown up on mining stations in the outer colonies, where humans and aliens worked together out of necessity rather than politics. "I don't know," Alex called back, which was mostly true. The system just started up on its own. Nina climbed down to the simulation floor, moving with the easy grace that made her one of the Academy's best pilots. Her dark hair was pulled back in the practical style most cadets adopted, and her brown eyes showed the sharp intelligence that had earned her top marks in tactical studies. "Systems don't just start themselves," she said, examining the control console. "Especially not this advanced. These scenarios are supposed to be locked behind command authorization." The holographic battle was still playing out around them, but Alex wasn't paying attention to the simulated combat anymore. He was watching the data streams flowing across the tactical displays. Information about energy patterns, weapon effectiveness, and strategic weak points that he somehow understood without having learned any of it. "Alex," Nina said quietly, "look at your hands." Alex glanced down and saw a faint glow emanating from his skin where he touched the control surface. Not bright enough to be obvious, but definitely there. As he watched, the glow pulsed in rhythm with the data flowing through the simulation system. "Turn it off," Nina urged, "before someone else sees." Alex tried to shut down the simulation, but the controls weren't responding normally. The system seemed to be running on its own initiative, creating scenarios faster than Alex could cancel them. Finally, he pulled his hands away from the console entirely. The simulation died instantly, leaving them standing in an empty chamber lit only by the basic safety lighting. "That's not normal," Nina said. "No," Alex agreed. "It's not." Over the following days, the anomalies grew stronger. Alex would walk past training equipment and hear it humming with power it shouldn't have. Combat drones designed to follow simple patrol patterns began executing complex maneuvers when he was nearby. Even the Academy's main computer system seemed more responsive during his shifts. Nina helped him cover the incidents, but she also started asking questions Alex couldn't answer without revealing what Morris had told him about the Forerunners and the genetic legacy hidden in human DNA. The situation came to a head during a routine tactical exercise. Alex was assigned to monitor communications while senior cadets ran a mock battle scenario. He sat at his console, tracking message traffic between the two opposing forces, when something odd caught his attention. The exercise was supposed to be taking place in a simulated environment, but the sensor readings Alex was seeing showed something else entirely. Long-range detection arrays that should have been focused on the nearby training area were picking up signals from the edge of the galaxy. Alex pulled up the raw sensor data, expecting to find equipment malfunctions or interference from nearby stellar phenomena. Instead, he found readings that made no sense at all. Energy signatures that appeared and disappeared without pattern. Gravitational anomalies that suggested massive objects moving in impossible ways. "What are you looking at?" Nina asked, glancing over from her own station. "I'm not sure," Alex said. "The deep space sensors are showing some weird readings." Nina moved to look over his shoulder, and Alex felt the now familiar tingle as the computer systems responded to his presence. Additional data streams opened automatically, showing more detailed analysis of the strange signals. "Those coordinates," Nina said, pointing at the display. "That's near the research station at Delta 7. My cousin works there." Alex called up the standard communication protocols to contact the research station, but found himself accessing systems he didn't have authorization for. Deep space monitoring arrays, military sensor networks, even some classified early warning systems responded to his queries. What they found made both cadets go silent. The research station at Delta 7 had missed 3 scheduled check-ins. Long-range sensors showed the star system was still there, but something was wrong with the readings. The stellar radiation patterns didn't match what should be coming from that type of star. "We need to report this," Nina said. Alex was about to agree when Morris appeared behind them, moving with the quiet efficiency of someone who had spent decades in the engineering sections of starships. "Report what?" the chief engineer asked. "That you two accessed classified sensor networks without authorization? That would be a fast way to get expelled." "But the research station," Nina protested. "Something's wrong out there." Morris glanced at the displays and Alex saw recognition in the older man's eyes. This was what he had been expecting, what he had been preparing for. "Communications problems happen all the time on the rim," Morris said carefully. "I'm sure it's just equipment failure. But if you're really concerned, I can file a maintenance request to have the sensor arrays checked." After Nina left to attend her next class, Morris pulled Alex aside. "It's starting," the chief engineer said. "The probing attacks are getting stronger, and your abilities are developing faster than I expected." "I can't control it," Alex said. "The computers just respond to me now." "What happens when people start noticing?" "They already are noticing," Morris said grimly. "Commander Reese has filed 3 reports about system anomalies in the past week, all of them in areas where you've been working." Alex felt a chill of fear. If the Academy administration started investigating, they would find out about his unauthorized access to classified systems. They might even discover Morris's secret archive chamber. "What do we do?" "We accelerate your training," Morris said. "And we hope the real invasion doesn't start before you're ready to fight it." That night, Alex lay in his bunk thinking about the readings from Delta 7. Somewhere out there, at the edge of known space, something was testing the barriers that kept the galaxy safe, and somehow he was supposed to be the one to stop it. The weight of that responsibility felt heavier than any burden he had ever carried. But as he drifted off to sleep, Alex found himself thinking not about the fear and uncertainty ahead, but about the look of trust in Nina's eyes when she had helped him cover the anomalies. Whatever was coming, at least he wouldn't face it alone. The emergency alarm that woke the Academy 3 days later was different from any Alex had heard before. Instead of the sharp, urgent tone used for drills or minor emergencies, this was a deep, resonant sound that seemed to vibrate through the very structure of the space station. Alex rolled out of his bunk and checked the time display. 3 in the morning, station time. Around him, other cadets were stirring and asking confused questions. Emergency drills never happened in the middle of the sleep cycle. The announcement that followed made everything clear. "All senior cadets report to Hangar Bay 1 immediately." "This is not a drill." "Repeat, this is not a drill." Alex threw on his uniform and joined the stream of cadets heading for the hangar. Despite being told this was for senior cadets only, everyone wanted to know what was happening. The corridors buzzed with speculation and nervous energy. Hangar Bay 1 was organized chaos. 3 fast attack ships were being prepped for launch, while officers shouted orders and technicians ran final system checks. Alex spotted Nina near one of the ships, already suited up in flight gear. Commander Reese stood on a raised platform, her purple skin pale under the harsh hangar lights. When the assembled cadets quieted down, she began her briefing. 6 hours ago, we lost contact with Research Station Delta 7, she announced. Long-range sensors show the station is still transmitting its automated beacon, but all attempts at communication have failed. A rescue mission is being launched immediately. Alex felt his stomach drop. This was the same station he and Nina had been monitoring when they detected those strange readings. Morris had dismissed their concerns as equipment problems, but Alex was beginning to suspect the chief engineer had known more than he admitted. "The following cadets will accompany the mission as technical support," Commander Reese continued, reading from her datapad. "Torres Nina, Grax Second Tactical. Vex Primary Navigation. Read Alex Communications and Sensor Analysis." Alex blinked in surprise. He had never been selected for a real mission before, especially not one this important. Around him, other cadets looked equally surprised. Alex Reed was known as the human who couldn't even get a proper scanner reading. "Launch in 30 minutes, Commander Reese concluded. "Full mission briefing will be conducted during transit." As the crowd dispersed, Alex found himself swept toward the ships. Nina caught up with him near the boarding ramp of the lead vessel. "Did you know about this?" she asked quietly. "No," Alex said, which was mostly true. He had known something was wrong at Delta 7, but he hadn't expected to be sent there to investigate. The ship's interior was cramped but efficient, designed for fast response missions rather than comfort. Alex strapped himself into the communication station as the other cadets took their positions. The two senior officers leading the mission, Lieutenant Grant and Commander Walsh, both human veterans with years of deep space experience. Transit time to Delta 7 is 18 hours, Lieutenant Grant announced as they cleared the space station. Use that time to familiarize yourselves with the mission parameters and emergency procedures. Alex activated his station and began reviewing the available data. The official reports showed Delta 7 as a routine scientific outpost, studying stellar phenomena near the galactic rim. But when Alex accessed the deeper files using security clearances he definitely shouldn't have had, he found references to more specialized research. Delta 7 had been monitoring something called dimensional stability. They were studying the barriers between normal space and what their reports referred to as the void regions. Alex felt a chill as he recognized terms Morris had used when describing the Forerunner War. Find something interesting? Nina asked from the pilot station. Maybe, Alex said. What do you know about dimensional research? Just the basics from theoretical physics class. Why? Alex was about to explain when the ship's sensor array detected something that made all conversation stop. On the main display, the star system containing Delta 7 appeared normal at first glance. A yellow star with 6 planets, one of which hosted the research station. But as they got closer, the sensor readings became increasingly strange. The star was emitting the right amount of light and heat, but the radiation patterns were wrong. The planets showed up on gravitational sensors, but their surface compositions didn't match the spectral analysis. It's like someone built a perfect copy of the system, Nina said, studying her pilot displays, but used the wrong materials. Lieutenant Grant ordered a full sensor sweep as they approached the research station. The structure appeared intact, its lights were functioning, and the automated beacon continued to broadcast normally. But when they tried to establish communication, something impossible happened. Their radio signals simply disappeared, not blocked or jammed, but gone as if they had never been transmitted at all. Take us closer, Commander Walsh ordered, but maintain safe distance. As they approached the station, Alex felt a familiar tingling sensation. The ship's computer systems were responding to his presence, bringing online sensors and analysis programs he hadn't requested. On his displays, data began to appear that wasn't coming from any of their standard equipment. What he saw made his blood run cold. The research station was there, but it wasn't real. The images on their screens showed a perfect replica, but Alex's enhanced sensors revealed the truth underneath. The station was a shell, a projection covering something else entirely, something that hurt to look at directly. Commander, Alex said, his voice tight with fear. We need to leave, now. Explain yourself, Cadet, Commander Walsh snapped. Alex was trying to figure out how to explain what he was seeing when the decision was taken away from him. The fake research station simply stopped existing. One moment it was there, the next moment there was nothing but empty space. And in that empty space, something began to emerge. It looked like a tear in reality itself. Not black like the vacuum of space, but an absence of existence that made Alex's eyes water when he tried to focus on it. And from that tear, shapes began to emerge. The void spawn were nothing like the creatures in Morris's historical records. Those had been shown as dark, threatening, but still recognizably alive. These things defied description because they challenged the very concept of existence. They were shapes that couldn't be shapes, moving in ways that violated the laws of physics. All ships emergency retreat, Lieutenant Grant shouted into the communications array. But when Alex tried to transmit the message, he discovered their communications were no longer working. Neither were their weapons. The ship's computer reported that key systems were simply ceasing to function. One of the void spawn moved toward their small fleet. As it approached, Alex watched in horror as the second ship in their formation began to fade. Not destroyed, not damaged, but becoming less real with each passing second until it was gone entirely. The third ship tried to retreat, but its engines failed as the creature's influence reached it. Alex realized with growing terror that conventional technology couldn't function near these things. The void spawn didn't just destroy matter and energy, they made the laws of physics stop working. That was when Alex felt something change inside him. The genetic legacy Morris had described began to awaken fully, triggered by proximity to the ancient enemy. Energy flowed through his body, and suddenly he could see the void spawn's true nature. They weren't really creatures at all. They were wounds in reality, kept open by corrupted Forerunner technology, and that technology was responding to the same genetic codes that flowed through Alex's DNA. Without fully understanding what he was doing, Alex reached out to the ship's computer systems with his mind rather than his hands. The Forerunner knowledge locked in his genes provided instructions his conscious mind couldn't comprehend, but his body knew how to follow. Power flowed through the ship's hull, creating patterns of energy that Alex somehow knew would repel the void spawn. A barrier of pure creation force wrapped around their vessel, holding back the advancing nothingness. "How are you doing that?" Nina whispered, staring at the energy patterns dancing across their hull. Alex didn't answer because he didn't know. He only knew that if he let his concentration slip for even a moment, they would all cease to exist just like the crew of the second ship. The barrier held as they retreated from the Delta 7 system, but Alex could feel it draining something essential from him. By the time they reached safe distance, he was exhausted in ways he had never experienced before. As they set course back to the Academy, carrying news of humanity's first contact with the returning void spawn, Alex realized that his life as a struggling cadet was over. Whether he was ready or not, the real war was about to begin. The Galactic Council chamber had never hosted a meeting like this one. Representatives from 47 different species filled the massive amphitheater, their voices creating a chaos of languages, clicks, whistles, and electronic tones. In the center of it all, a holographic display showed the impossible footage from Delta 7. Alex sat in the witness section, feeling completely out of place among beings who held the fate of entire star systems in their hands. Next to him, Nina provided a steady presence as they waited to be called to testify. Across the chamber, Morris watched from the engineering core section. His weathered face grave, the footage played again, showing their ship surrounded by impossible energy barriers, while reality itself seemed to bend around them. The council members argued about what they were seeing, but Alex could tell that most of them didn't really understand the danger they faced. The human vessel clearly employed some form of unknown defensive technology, declared High Chancellor Corrin, a tall insectoid being whose species had dominated galactic politics for centuries. "We demand a full technical briefing on these capabilities." "With respect, Chancellor," interrupted Admiral Thorne, one of the few humans to hold high rank in the galactic fleet, "the technology in question appears to be as new to us as it is to you." That statement caused another eruption of debate. Several species demanded immediate access to human defensive technology. Others suggested that humanity had been hiding advanced capabilities all along. A few of the more paranoid representatives even suggested that the entire incident was some kind of human deception. Alex tried to ignore the political maneuvering and focus on the real issue. Out there at the edge of the galaxy, the void spawn were testing more barriers. The sensor reports coming in from rim stations showed the same dimensional anomalies they had detected at Delta 7. Reality itself was under attack, and the council was arguing about technology transfers. Cadet Reed, Alex Human, stepped forward for testimony. Alex walked to the central platform, acutely aware of dozens of alien eyes studying his every movement. The questioning began immediately, with different council members demanding explanations. For phenomena Alex barely understood himself. "Describe the exact nature of the defensive barrier your vessel generated," ordered Chancellor Corrin. "I don't know," Alex said honestly. "It just happened when the void spawn approached our ship." "You don't know?" The Chancellor's mandibles clicked with obvious annoyance. "Are you claiming the technology activated spontaneously?" "In a way, yes." This answer triggered another round of heated debate. Several species accused humans of deliberately concealing information. Others demanded that Alex be subjected to detailed medical and technological scanning to determine how he had accessed the defensive system. That was when Morris stood up in the engineering section. "If I may address the council," the chief engineer said, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber's acoustic systems. Chancellor Corrin looked annoyed at the interruption, but protocol required that he allow recognized experts to speak. "You may proceed, Chief Engineer Morris." Morris walked to the central platform, carrying a data storage device that Alex recognized from their sessions in the hidden archive chamber. "Honorable council members," Morris began, "what you witnessed at Delta 7 was not the result of human military technology. It was the awakening of abilities that have been dormant in human genetics for thousands of years. The chamber fell silent. Even the constant background noise of translation systems seemed muted. "Explain," Chancellor Corrin demanded. Morris activated his data device, and holographic displays filled the air above the council chamber. Ancient star maps, genetic analysis charts, and historical records from civilizations that had vanished long before most current species had achieved spaceflight. "Humans are not native to Earth," Morris announced. "We are descendants of refugees from the Forerunner civilization. The genetic markers are still present in our DNA, dormant but intact, and Alex Reed carries a particularly strong concentration of those markers." The revelation hit the council like a shockwave. Some species reacted with disbelief, others with fear. The Altrians, whose telepathic abilities made them sensitive to genetic anomalies, began nodding in recognition. "Impossible," declared Representative Voss, speaking for the Brutex. "The Forerunners vanished before our species achieved sentience. How could humans be their descendants?" Morris projected another display, showing the genetic evidence in detail. The Forerunners didn't all die in their final war. Some survived long enough to establish hidden colonies on primitive worlds. Earth was one of those worlds. They modified their own genetics to blend with the native population, encoding their knowledge and abilities into dormant sequences that would only activate under specific conditions. "What conditions?" asked Admiral Thorne. "Proximity to void spawn technology," Morris said grimly. "The Forerunners designed their refugee populations to serve as living weapons, activated only when their ancient enemy returned." Alex felt the weight of the entire chamber's attention focusing on him. He was no longer just a cadet giving testimony about a strange incident. He was a living weapon created by a dead civilization to fight a war that had ended before his species evolved. "The footage from Delta 7 shows only the beginning," Morris continued. "Alex's abilities are still developing. The Forerunners left detailed records about fire-bearers, individuals who could access their most advanced technologies. But those technologies come with enormous risks." Chancellor Corrin leaned forward on his throne-like chair. "What kind of risks?" "The weapons the Forerunners created to fight the void spawn operate by manipulating the fundamental forces that hold reality together," Morris explained. "Used incorrectly, they could unravel the fabric of space-time itself. The Forerunners understood this risk when they encoded the genetic locks into their refugees. Fire-bearers were never meant to fight alone." Morris activated another display, showing technical specifications for devices Alex couldn't begin to understand. But looking at them, he felt a strange sense of familiarity, as if the knowledge needed to operate them was just below the surface of his consciousness. "The heart of creation," Morris said, pointing to the largest device on the display. "The Forerunner's ultimate weapon. It can reshape reality on a stellar scale, creating new matter and energy from nothing, or it can erase entire star systems from existence if misused." "Where is this weapon now?" demanded Admiral Thorne. "Hidden beneath this space station," Morris said. "The Academy was built on top of the largest Forerunner archive in known space. I've been guarding it for 40 years, waiting for someone with the genetic keys to access it." The chamber erupted again, but this time the debate was different. Instead of arguing about human deception, the council members were grappling with the reality of their situation. An ancient enemy was returning, and their only hope of survival lay with a human cadet who had barely learned to control abilities he didn't understand. "The immediate question," said Admiral Thorne, cutting through the chaos, "is whether we're prepared to trust humanity with this responsibility. The power Morris describes could destroy our civilization as easily as save it." Alex found himself standing up before he had consciously decided to speak. "I don't want this responsibility," he said, his voice carrying clearly through the chamber. "A month ago, I was just a cadet who couldn't pass basic training. But the void spawn are already breaking through the barriers. If we don't act soon, there won't be a civilization left to worry about." He gestured to the displays still floating above the chamber. "The Forerunners faced this choice once before. They could have used their weapons to conquer the galaxy, but instead they sacrificed everything to protect it. I may not understand the technology they left behind, but I understand the choice they made." Chancellor Corrin studied Alex for a long moment. "And what choice will you make, Firebearer?" Alex looked around the chamber at the representatives of species he had grown up learning about. Beings from dozens of worlds, each with their own cultures and dreams and hopes for the future, all of them now depending on decisions made by a human cadet with abilities he was only beginning to comprehend. "I'll learn to use the tools they left," Alex said, "and I'll try to be worthy of the trust they placed in us." The vote, when it finally came, was closer than Alex had expected. But in the end, the council authorized him to access the Forerunner archives and begin training with their ancient technologies. As the session ended, and the chamber began to empty, Morris approached Alex with a mixture of pride and concern on his weathered face. "Ready to see what your ancestors left behind?" the chief engineer asked. Alex thought about the weight of responsibility that now rested on his shoulders, and about the creatures of living nothingness waiting at the edge of the galaxy. "No," he said honestly, "but let's do it anyway." The descent to the deepest levels of the space station took nearly an hour. Alex followed Morris through passages that grew older and stranger with each level, until they were walking through corridors that clearly predated the Academy by thousands of years. The walls here were made of the same crystal-like material as the scanner, and they pulsed with faint internal light as Alex passed. "The heart of creation is kept in the central vault," Morris explained as they walked. "But before you can access it, you need to experience the full awakening. The genetic locks won't release until your Forerunner heritage is completely active." They reached a massive circular chamber with a raised platform in the center. On that platform sat a chair-like device surrounded by crystalline structures that hummed with barely contained energy. The entire setup looked like a cross between a throne and a torture device. "What does the awakening involve?" Alex asked, though part of him already suspected the answer wouldn't be pleasant. "You'll experience the memories encoded in your DNA," Morris said. "The final battle against the Void Spawn, as seen through the eyes of your Forerunner ancestors. It's the only way to unlock the knowledge you'll need to operate their weapons." Alex approached the chair slowly. Up close, he could see that the crystalline structures were covered in the same flowing symbols he had seen on the scanner. When he was within 3 feet of the device, the symbols began to glow brighter. "Will I still be me when it's over?" Alex asked. Morris paused before answering. "The Forerunners designed the memory transfer to preserve the host personality. But you'll have experienced a lifetime of knowledge and trauma in a few hours. It changes people." Before Alex could lose his nerve, he sat down in the chair. The moment his body made contact with the device, the world exploded into light and sensation. Suddenly, Alex was no longer in the vault beneath the Academy. He stood on the bridge of a massive Forerunner warship, watching as reality itself came under attack. The memories flooded through him, decades of warfare compressed into minutes of experience. He felt the desperation of the Forerunner commanders as they realized their enemy couldn't be fought with conventional weapons. The Void Spawn didn't just destroy matter and energy. They unraveled the laws that made existence possible. Every victory against them was temporary, every defeat permanent. Alex experienced the moment when the Forerunners made their final choice. Rather than retreat to another galaxy and abandon billions of innocent species to the Void Spawn, they would sacrifice their entire civilization to create a prison that would hold the creatures for millennia. The process required volunteers to channel the heart of creation's power directly through their bodies, using their life force to anchor the reality barriers. Alex felt their pain as one by one. The bravest of the Forerunners gave their lives to save a galaxy that would never know their names. But the memories also contained hope. The knowledge that some had escaped, carrying the genetic keys needed to fight this war again when the barriers inevitably weakened. Instructions for finding and training firebearers, hidden in the DNA of refugee populations across dozens of worlds. When the memory transfer ended, Alex found himself back in the vault, but he was no longer the same person who had sat down. The knowledge of how to operate Forerunner technology flowed through his mind like a second set of instincts. He understood the principles behind reality manipulation, the careful balance needed to create rather than destroy. "How do you feel?" Morris asked. "Different," Alex said, standing up from the chair, "but still myself. I can remember their lives, but they're not my memories. Does that make sense?" Morris nodded. "The personality preservation worked. Now we need to see if you can access the heart of creation." They moved deeper into the vault, passing displays of Forerunner weapons and equipment that Alex now understood completely. Finally, they reached the central chamber where the heart of creation waited. The device was smaller than Alex had expected, about the size of a person and shaped like a crystalline tree. Its branches pulsed with the same internal light as the chamber walls, but brighter and more complex. Looking at it, Alex could feel the immense power contained within. "Remember," Morris warned, "this device can reshape reality on a stellar scale. The slightest mistake could destroy everything we're trying to protect." Alex approached the heart of creation carefully. When he placed his hands on its surface, he felt a connection unlike anything from the memory transfer. This wasn't just knowledge flowing into his mind. It was the fundamental forces of creation itself responding to his will. That was when the alarms began. Emergency signals echoed through the vault as displays around the chamber activated, showing real-time sensor data from across the galaxy. The Void Spawn had launched their full invasion. Reality tears were opening above dozens of star systems simultaneously, and the creatures of living nothingness were pouring through. They knew, Alex realized. Somehow they sensed when I accessed the heart of creation. They're attacking now to stop me from using it. Through the station's sensors, Alex watched as the combined galactic fleet engaged the Void Spawn in battles that defied comprehension. Ships simply ceased to exist when they got too close to the creatures. Weapons failed to function. Even the basic laws of physics seemed to break down near the invasion points. "I have to help them," Alex said, preparing to channel power through the heart of creation. "Wait," Morris said urgently. "If you use the device here, the feedback could destroy the space station and everyone on it. You need to get closer to the enemy." Alex understood. The heart of creation was designed to be used in space, where its reality-altering effects wouldn't endanger innocent populations. But that meant leaving the safety of the vault and taking the device into the heart of the battle. "Nina," Alex said suddenly, "I need a ship and I need the best pilot in the academy." Within an hour, Alex found himself aboard a modified transport ship with the heart of creation secured in its cargo hold. Nina sat at the pilot's controls, her face grim but determined. Behind them, Morris monitored the device's power levels while other academy staff maintained the ship's systems. "Course set for the main battle zone," Nina reported. "Estimated arrival in 6 hours." As they traveled toward the largest concentration of Void Spawn, Alex studied the tactical displays. The creatures weren't just attacking randomly. They were targeting specific star systems, focusing on worlds with large populations and strategic importance. It was a coordinated assault designed to break galactic civilization's ability to resist. But Alex could see something the Void Spawn couldn't. The memory transfer had shown him how to track the source of their power, the corrupted Forerunner technology that kept the reality tiers open. If he could reach the central control node, he might be able to turn the Void Spawn's own power against them. The battle zone was unlike anything in recorded history. Space itself seemed fractured, with areas where the laws of physics operated differently than normal. Ships from a dozen species fought desperately against enemies that shouldn't be able to exist. "Take us to those coordinates," Alex said, pointing to a region where the reality distortions were strongest. "That's where their control system is hidden." Nina piloted their ship through the chaos with skill that bordered on impossible. She seemed to instinctively know which areas of space were safe, and which would simply erase them from existence. Behind them, the heart of creation grew brighter as Alex prepared to use it. At the center of the battle zone, Alex found what he was looking for. A massive construct of corrupted Forerunner technology, twisted by eons of exposure to the Void Spawn's influence. It was this device that was keeping the reality tiers open, feeding power to the creatures of nothingness. "I can shut it down," Alex said, studying the construct through the heart of creation's sensors. "But I'll need to channel the device's full power output. The feedback will probably destroy our ship." "Do it," Nina said without hesitation. "If we don't stop this here, everyone dies anyway." Alex placed his hands on the heart of creation's control interface, feeling the device's immense power flowing through him. But instead of simply destroying the corrupted technology, he found himself doing something the original Forerunners had never attempted. He reached out to the Void Spawn themselves, using the heart of creation to offer them something they had been trying to devour for millions of years. The gift of existence, the chance to be real instead of empty negation. The transformation was immediate and overwhelming. The creatures of living nothingness suddenly found themselves filled with purpose and possibility. Instead of unraveling reality, they began to help repair the damage they had caused. The reality tears closed as former enemies worked together to restore the natural order. When the battle ended, Alex found himself changed once again. The experience of channeling the heart of creation had left him with a deeper understanding of the balance between creation and destruction, existence and void. He was no longer just a human cadet with forerunner abilities. He had become something new, a guardian of the space between what was and what could be. Back at the academy, the forerunner scanner was tested one more time. When Alex approached it, the device remained silent, but now that silence held a different meaning. It wasn't the silence of malfunction or failure to register. It was the silence of recognition, of one guardian acknowledging another. The galaxy was safe, but Alex knew his real work was just beginning. Somewhere among the stars, new civilizations were evolving. New species were taking their first steps into space, and he would be there to help them find their way. Carrying the fire that burns after heaven itself has been transformed. The title that the ancient device had given him, Firebearer, had evolved into something greater. He was now the guardian of possibilities, protector of all the futures that might yet come to pass in a universe where hope had triumphed over emptiness.